If you watched Daytona weekend and thought that felt different, you're not alone. Because what started as a wild superspeedway opener quickly turned into a full-blown NASCAR debate, with fans arguing over strategy versus manipulation, drivers calling each other out, and officials stepping in afterward to explain why the rulebook didn't change. But the way the race felt absolutely did. And right in the middle of it all, Carson Hocevar, a driver who went from heartbreak in the closing seconds of the Daytona 500 to being at the center of yet another Daytona controversy off the track, and now a surprise roster move that's officially confirmed heading into Atlanta. But before we get to the replacement, you need the full context because this story has 3 layers and they all connect. The Daytona 500 last lap cheating debate. Let's start with the phrase fans keep using. Cheating. To be clear, NASCAR has not accused anyone of cheating. No penalties were issued for cheating. No official wrongdoing was announced. But what fans are calling cheating is really this: a growing belief that drivers and teams are gaming the system, especially on superspeedways, by manipulating the pace, fuel strategy, and the timing of cautions. Daytona weekend poured gasoline on that argument because multiple times incidents happened that looked like they would normally bring out a yellow, and yet NASCAR held the caution as long as possible. In the Cup race, officials allowed the field to race back to the line even while a situation was still being monitored. And afterward, NASCAR's leadership addressed the controversy directly. On SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, Cup Series Managing Director Brad Moran explained that NASCAR had the tools and the visibility to keep it green in that moment. Cameras, spotters, replay, remote race control, and emphasized they were still monitoring the incident as the leaders approached the finish. Then on NASCAR's Hauler Talk, Managing Director of Communications Mike Foe, Raid added an important detail. Daytona's runoff area is huge, and that's part of why they were able to hold the caution without putting the field in immediate danger. He also warned Atlanta is different, far less runoff, less margin for error, and that could change how quickly cautions fly. And here's the quote that basically became the headline of NASCAR's entire explanation. Ford said, "Every wreck is a snowflake," meaning no 2 wrecks are the same, no 2 tracks are the same. And NASCAR is trying to be consistent, but safety context can force different decisions. Now, whether fans buy that explanation or not is the whole point of the cheating conversation. Because from the fan perspective, it doesn't look like snowflakes. It looks like let them race no matter what, especially on the final lap. And that's where this ties into Hocevar's Daytona 500 heartbreak and why it fueled the debate. Hocevar wasn't just running well in the Daytona 500. He was leading on the final lap. This is the kind of moment that changes a career. The kind of finish that turns a young driver into a household name overnight. But then it happened. He got hit from behind, spun, and watched a potential signature win disappear in seconds. Afterward, he described feeling a strong shot in the rear while trying to get his lane moving, but still credited his team and said he didn't know what he would have done differently. And that's what made the debate even louder. Fans weren't just arguing about rules, they were arguing about how Daytona finishes are decided now. By chaos, by timing, by whether the caution comes out, and by whether drivers are racing full throttle or playing fuel and position chess until the last 10 meters. NASCAR officials also acknowledged the fuel-saving conversation has become unavoidable. Drivers riding at reduced throttle for long stretches to control pit cycles and track position, and they admitted it's on the radar, even if there's no quick switch to flip. So while Hocevar's last lap incident wasn't ruled cheating, it happened inside a weekend where fans were already angry about what they think superspeedway racing has become. And when the sport is already tense, it only takes one more controversy to light the match. The other Daytona controversy, Hocevar versus Ware, explodes. Because it wasn't only the Cup race. Hocevar's weekend also included the United Rentals 300, and that's where the feud with Carson Ware went from heated to headline. After a major wreck wiped out contention, tempers flared. And in the days after, Hocevar didn't exactly cool things down. He escalated it with remarks that fans immediately interpreted as a shot at Ware's legitimacy. In a quote widely shared by reporter Noah Lewis, Hocevar said, "Yeah, I understand some people just aren't racers, and they just want to have it in their Instagram bio or say they are racers. So, like, if you want to ride on the back, whatever." That line hit hard because Ware is connected to Rick Ware Racing. And in NASCAR, anything that sounds like you're here because of who you are instantly becomes a bigger story than the wreck itself. Ware responded by focusing on respect, not just for drivers, but for crews and the work that goes into keeping cars race-ready. He said he's fine with gestures, but criticized what he viewed as unnecessary contact and damage after the race, pointing out how hard his team works to build and repair equipment. So now, Hocevar's Daytona weekend wasn't just a last-lap heartbreak in the 500. It was also a brewing feud, a viral quote, and a fan base already arguing about games and manipulation at superspeedways. Which leads to the next question. So what happens next for Hocevar? Normally, after a big Daytona storyline, drivers move on. But Hocevar didn't just leave Daytona with drama. He left it with schedule pressure, spotlight pressure, and now a confirmed change heading into Atlanta. Because many fans assumed he'd run another triple-duty weekend, and that assumption turned out to be wrong. We learned that as entry lists and weekend plans started coming out for Atlanta, officially Echo Park Speedway where NASCAR is headed next. And that's where the replacement confirmed part of the story begins to take shape. Reports explained that while Hocevar will continue his commitments with Spire Motorsports and still run his truck schedule, he will not run the Xfinity race at Atlanta. Now, why does that matter? Because it's not just one less race. It's a signal that either the workload is being reduced, the team wants stability after controversy, or they're managing risk after a messy Daytona stretch. Before I give you the name, let me ask you something quick. If you're enjoying this kind of NASCAR, is going to add even more fuel to this whole debate. Hocevar's replacement for Atlanta has been confirmed. And it's Nick Leitz. Leitz is set to replace Hocevar in the number 42 Chevrolet for Young's Motorsports at Atlanta, taking over that seat for the O'Reilly Series weekend. And the reason this matters is that it's not just a random fill-in. Leitz already has recent experience at Atlanta, and his recent part-time work has included solid flashes, including a career-best run at Talladega